Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ringside Ramblers podcast. I'm Alex. I'm joined this week by Alfonso. And for this week's show, we have a very special show where we will be reviewing the very first episode of Monday Night Raw. Now, this was sent in to us by a fan who asked us to review the show, and we want to encourage as much fan involvement as possible. So, in the future, we'll be doing similar shows where the fans can send us in what they want us to review. So, shout out to one Nick Opolewski who sent us this request to review the very first episode of Monday Night Raw. So, Alfonso, welcome to the show. And are you ready to ramble?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was a very interesting request to go back and see the first Raw. Raw is moving to Netflix soon. So I think it's a very interesting time to see the first Raw before the new generation Raw, as we want to say it, because it's going to a streaming service, a big streaming service like Netflix. I think uh, we're going to see it during the show because this first episode is very, very particular.
Yes, it's a very interesting episode for sure. And like you said, big changes happening for Raw in the next few months. So it's a good time to review the very first episode of Raw. So we'll get straight into it. So this show came from New York City, from the Manhattan Center, January the 11th, 1993, which is a long time ago, just before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And we had Vince McMahon, Randy Savage, and Rob Bartlett on commentary, with Howard Finkel, the legendary Howard Finkel, as the announcer. The arena was very small, I thought.
That's what I loved about it because I think
Yeah,
the intimate setting and traditional arenas like it makes it a little bit better. Like I love those kind of arenas where you can really see the crowd like very close to the ring, where you can see really the signs, where you can see the people faces. That's what I love about wrestling, like intimate, like when you are in these kind of settings, like very very close. It's the same when you're watching like a football or soccer game and the fans are very far away. I don't like that. I prefer them to be like way too close to the ring, you know? You have to feel the pressure of the fans. So I think that that arena was great for the first episode of Raw.
yeah, I completely agree. Really small, intimate setting. So let's get into the matches. So the first match was Coco Beware, also known as the Birdman, versus the great Yokozuna, the late great Yokozuna. And there's not much to say about this really. It's a complete squash match. It's over in about 3 minutes. Yoko just destroys Coco Beware. And it kind of makes a lot of sense because Yoko is being pushed going into the 1993 Royal Rumble match, which he then goes on to win and
Yeah,
get a
for
title
sure.
shot at WrestleMania. So I guess this made sense to just give him an easy win, Alfonso.
I think it's great because he does the banzai drop, and that banzai drop looks amazing. Like if you're going to have one first match, you need to have like a big moment, and that banzai drop on Coco Beware was great. Like 500,000, no, 500 pound, no, how do you say it? Pounds?
£505,
Yeah,
Yokozuna. Yeah,
yeah, and
he's a
yeah,
very big man.
yeah, and I think it's good. Like you want him to win the Rumble later that month. You need him to be pushed strong, and what the best way to open the show with him? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Very first ever match for Monday Night Raw, and yeah, it made sense to just give him a squash victory to heat him up for the Royal Rumble match.
That
So
that's that's the big problem with the TV during that time. Like there were a lot of squash matches. You know, like they didn't want to give too much on TV because they were really
yeah,
selling the pay-per-view. So the first match is a squash match, and the second one is the Steiner brothers against the Executioners that are jobbers. So you have back-to-back squash matches.
yeah, this was another squash match again. It wasn't really that long. I thought Rick Steiner hit a great power slam, and Scott Steiner did an awesome belly to belly suplex and tiger driver. And then the Steiners hit their big electric chair into the Bulldog for the win. I thought the Executioners were absolutely horrible in this match. I have to admit, like they could barely like run the ropes. Like it was really awkward, I thought. But like again, it's just to showcase the Steiners and how great they were at the time.
I have a little bit of trivia for you.
Go on.
What was the finisher name of the Steiners?
Oh God, I don't know that one. I can't
Steiner
remember.
Risers. The Steiner Riser.
Ah, that makes sense. Makes sense. It's
Another
almost like
another
a.
trivia for you. Another trivia for you. What was the nickname of Rick Steiner?
I don't know why I just thought of like the Mad Dog. Is it anything to do with the dog?
Yeah, the dog-faced gremlin.
The dog faced gremlin. That's it. Because I know Bron Breaker, who's obviously Rick Steiner's son. He does the bark dog thing, which is his like gimmick now, isn't it?
Yeah, but yeah, I
Um,
think I think that this one was a good squash. Like the executioner were terrible, but you
they were
want
awful.
them. But you want to have the Steiners like win their first match because they were doing their debut in WWE. They just moved from WCW to WWE, so I think it was a good thing. But yeah, TV that time it was like a lot of squashes. But
Yeah,
when I
the matches weren't very long at all, were they?
yeah, we only have 4 matches during this show, but I think one of the great things is the third and the fourth match. You have like the big names because in the third match you have Shawn Michaels.
Yes, yeah. Just before we go to that match,
Okay.
there was a Razor Ramon promo in the ring with Vince McMahon, and I have to say, I absolutely love Razor Ramon in this era. He was awesome. I love the character. I love the look with the toothpick in his mouth, saying "Chico" quite a lot, and Razor was great. It was just a standard promo hyping his match against Bret Hart at the Royal Rumble for the WWF Championship, and yeah, I mean, he put the match over. He was always a decent promo Razor and great charisma, and it was what you wanted to help sell the match, really.
Yeah, for sure. I think Razor Ramon is one of my favorite guys. Like the character, I love that, and I think the way he's portrayed, like the chick and everything like that, you needed somebody like that in that WWE. Like it was missing that kind of character.
Yeah,
And we can also talk about other segments that were during before the third and the fourth match. Is like the Bobby Heenan skits,
yeah,
like the comedic attempts of him sneaking to the arena wearing all these kind of disguises. I think it was very is super fun because he's one of the greatest manager ever, but also he can do comedy, he can do being serious, he can be, he had all this kind of personality and all this charisma that it was great to see on TV.
absolutely agree with that. Bobby the Brain Heenan is one of the all-time greats, all-time great non-wrestlers, let's say. And yeah, he was great. There was a whole thread throughout where he tries to get into the arena, they won't let him in. So then he tries dressing in drag, and they didn't let him in. And then he puts a beard on, and again they caught him out and didn't let him in. And Brain was great in this role, and like you said, great comedic performer, I think. Um, but he did cut a promo talking about the fact that he was going to introduce a character called the Narcissist, and he really put him over strong. And he was obviously referring to Lex Luger, who would compete at WrestleMania 9. Um, and yeah, I mean, the Brain's great. Heenan was always great at promos. And yeah, he made this kind of stuff really entertaining. It was one of the most entertaining bits of the whole show, actually. Um, so yeah, great call there, Alfonso. So yeah, we'll move on to the third match, which was very early days. Shawn Michaels. He was the Intercontinental Champion at this time, but he hadn't quite transitioned into that big main eventer, one of the all-time greats that he would become. And he was defending his championship against Max Moon.
The great Max Moon, please.
Yeah, also known as Paul Diamond. And yeah, I mean,
But wait. Let's just go back for a second. If you don't know anything about wrestling, you see this match card. You see a guy called Shawn Michaels, and then you have a guy called Max Moon. You're going to root for Max Moon, man. Or you're going to root for Paul Diamond. I think both of those names are great names for a wrestler. And
yeah,
Shawn
they
Michaels,
are.
like normally it's not like a wow, who's Shawn Michaels, you know? Like Shawn Michaels can be like a singer of a country band. But Max Moon and Paul Diamond, wow, man. For me, when the first time I heard the name, I was like, I need to see this guy called Max Moon. And then I saw the costume and I was like, oh, Max Moon. Oh.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a name that really stands out, isn't it? But I don't think he did a lot else in wrestling that certainly nothing noteworthy. But yeah, I mean, this match was it was the longest match of the show.
Yeah.
It was okay. I thought it was quite a solid match. They
Yeah.
both Max Moon could work for sure. Shawn Michaels, I think at this time in his career, he was so far ahead of his time in terms of his athleticism, and you could even see it in this match the way he moved about and sold, and
Yeah.
what a great
And
athlete. And we didn't see a lot of these great athletes during this time in the early 90s.
you could see like he was laying the ground for his heartbreaking character, you know, like he was starting to be this cocky heel and everything. But one of the greatest things is that you see Michaels hitting a super kick in the end, but then he goes for a teardrop suplex, and
Yeah,
that surprised me a lot because I forgot that he used that teardrop suplex to finish matches.
yeah, me too. Because he hit the sweet chin music, which Vince called a savate kick, which is kind of what it is. But yeah, like you said, it didn't finish the match. The teardrop, it's almost like a modified angle slam.
Yeah.
Quite a cool looking move. But yeah, it's weird to think of that as Sean's finisher at the time. But yeah, he hits the sweet chin and the teardrop and gets the win. Um, I thought it was quite a decent match actually, especially considering the other matches on the card.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like the first two matches were squash matches. So if you want to showcase a guy, you put it in the third match and you give him a long match. And that was it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a lot longer than the rest of the matches. Then we got a few promo packages hyping up the Royal Rumble. They did one with Mr. Perfect and Yokozuna, and the very first Royal Rumble winner, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Just standard promos saying that they were going to, win the big one and go on to WrestleMania. And it's what you want, I guess, to hype up your pay per view event and try and get some ticket sales and pay per view buys for it. And then we moved on to the main event, which was
Okay. Before you said again, Damien Demento. And then you get Undertaker. But
yeah,
Damien Demento is such a cool name, man. It's like Dominic Mysterio. Like I could see Dominic Mysterio taking the Damien Demento name, and that's it. You
you could,
know, that's a superstar name.
yeah, Damien Demento. It's a cool name for sure. Um, and he was a big guy. Like
Yeah,
he wasn't quite as big as the Undertaker, but he was a big guy. He almost looked like a. This is going to sound a bit like derogatory, but like a Wish version of a Ministry Undertaker. He had like
yeah, for
the
sure. Yeah, I understand what
the
you're saying.
yeah, like the beard and the long hair, and he almost looked like this like big like evil type character. But yeah,
But the thing,
Undertaker,
but
obviously one of the greatest of all time, and this was very early Undertaker, but he still had that aura, that presence, the entrance, the music.
I'm sorry, but he already was like a top star in WWE. He was accompanied by Paul Bearer. You have the entrance with everything, the ominous music, the spooky
Yeah,
atmosphere in the Manhattan Center because it was a very small arena, like we said before. And then you have Damon Demento, and he looks a little bit like an oddball character, you know? Like when we saw when you see it in the ring, like he had a very limited offense. If you see the Undertaker moves, he's very smooth in the ring, but Damon Demento was a little bit sluggish for my liking.
yeah, I agree. I wrote this down in my notes. I thought Taker is so agile for his size, like the way he moves around. He did an old school on Demento, which again he where he just walks out to the middle of the rope effortlessly. He did his big flying clothesline and then hit a tombstone for the easy win. Really, again, it was another extended squash. Really, it was only about 3 or 4 minutes, I think. But the Undertaker, like you said, was a main event player. He'd already been WWF champion by this point. And yeah, I mean, it was a showcase for him. Really, nothing special about the match. It was what it was, and um, Taker got the win in the first ever Raw main event.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, then they had this. I think was it during this match where Rob Bartlett, the color commentator, was putting on this like Doink the Clown voice throughout,
Yeah,
or,
no, no,
or
no. The thing it was that Doing the Clown was trying to make an appearance outside the ring. No.
oh yes, no, that's right. Yeah, Doink was in the audience, wasn't he? Yeah, and
Yeah,
then at the end he's doing a promo and Crush comes out and chases him away, which I thought was a bit of an awkward moment because like Doink couldn't really run away from him and Crush had to like almost slow down to a walk because Doink just wasn't going anywhere. But of course this set up their WrestleMania 9 match, which
exactly.
yeah, again it's another promotional tool, isn't it? What
But
I was thinking of
again,
with
just wait a second. Just imagine this. You have your first Raw match, your first Raw show ever, and you have Damien Demento, Doink the Clown, and Max Moon. Okay, that's everything you need to know about the landscape of WWE in the early 19th.
Yeah, it wasn't really a great era for the WWE. They had just tried to move on from Hulk Hogan because the fans were already tired of Hogan by this point. They got tired of him by around 1990, 91, and they were almost looking for their next top star. They put the title on Bret Hart, and obviously Bret Hart is one of the greatest of all time. But they were still looking for the characters that were over the top, rather than transitioning into the quote like wrestlers, the proper working wrestlers like Bret Hart, like Shawn Michaels. So it was a bit of a rough period for WWE, and like you said, you know, this is why we have these kind of names in the first ever um, Raw. And what I mean, overall, Alfonso, what did you think of the show overall?
Like, let's be honest, it wasn't like a great show. Like,
No,
you need to see it because it's a historic show. Just to see it, is like somebody that everybody needs to see how we have moved from that to what we have today. And you are very grateful about what we have today if you're only seeing that kind of raw. Like, what the thing I love is like it was a very short show, and now that we have like 3 hours raw, sometimes I prefer to have like a 1 hour or 2 hours raw, like we're getting these days. But yeah, I think it wasn't like a great show, let's be honest. But there were a little like a few things that are worth saying. Like you have Bobby Heenan, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker, and that's it. Like those are the three things you need to remember about this show.
yeah, yeah, I completely agree. The show was bang average, if not a little bit below average. Especially like it's hard to compare them to modern day Raws, but we're so used to seeing longer matches, really entertaining matches with guys that are really over, like top mid carders that can really work. But we did get the names, you know, we did get Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, we did get Razor Ramon, Yokozuna. So we got some nice little things to watch, but overall, it was a pretty poor show. I thought the most egregious thing about the show was probably the commentary. I thought the commentary was awful, if you ask me. I thought Macho Man did well, as he always does. Great voice, great talker, but like McMahon was never a great commentator. He did okay, but Rob Bartlett was like insufferable here. I think in one match or one segment, he tried to uh, act like Mike Tyson and put on this phony Mike Tyson voice, but it happened for like 5 to 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, this got old after a minute. Like, why are you still doing this? Um, so yeah, it wasn't the best show really, but
For me,
The Bobby Heenan stuff. Sorry, Alfonso. The Bobby Heenan stuff was really good, really entertaining, and like you said, it's a historic show, so it's definitely worth a watch.
for me, is one of the weirdest things ever because if you see that show today, you're thinking, how the hell? did Raw lasted 1,000 episodes or more than 1,000 episodes? Because the
Yeah.
first image we saw on TV that day is Sean Mooney,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and how the hell are you starting the first thing with Sean Mooney? Like
It's
how?
yeah. It's the first voice and the first face you see, and yeah, he opened up. He was outside the arena. He was interviewing Bobby Heenan throughout all of those segments, and yeah, it's very strange kind
and
of show.
again and again what you said about commentary, like you're having this amazing very short period, but you have like Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon on commentary, and
They
then
were
you
great.
have Vince McMahon, Randy Savage, and Rob Bartlett, you know.
Rob Bartlett was horrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, some people might disagree, but that's my opinion. I thought he was horrible on this show, and he almost tried to act like Jerry the King Lawler, like the funny guy, and nothing he was saying was funny.
Yeah, like Rob Bartlett in one moment he said like Coco Beware was Gary Coleman, and it wasn't just funny, like that was a very poor taste joke, and that's it.
Yeah, and you've got. I was thinking during the show, like, what is Vince McMahon thinking? He sat right next to this guy. He's the owner of the company. What is he thinking when Rob Bartlett's saying all these things? Surprised he didn't just go backstage and just like fire him straight after this show. But well, he certainly won't go down as a memorable commentator, Rob Bartlett. But yeah, I mean that was it. That was Raw. Alfonso, give this show a grade out of 10. What do you think?
3.
3. If I had to say, I would probably say 4. I would be a little bit kinder,
You
just
know,
because of
you know
the
why it's 3? You know why it's 3? Because I think at the end of the show, Vince McMahon goes and he said, "We're going to have El Matador and Pampa Shango on the Raw episode number 2." So yeah, I wasn't looking forward to that. You know?
I think for the historical significance and the fact that we did see Taker, Shawn, and a couple of others, I thought it's worthy of a 4, just knocking it up a bit. But the in-ring action and the show in general was, yeah, pretty poor. But yeah, that was it. That was the first ever episode of Raw. I mean, go and watch it, guys, and let us know what you think in the comments. We will hope to do a few more of these fan-involved podcasts where we ask you guys to suggest a topic or a show to review or something like that. They're really enjoyable to do, and we're very grateful to Nick who suggested this one. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Ringside Ramblers on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Alfonso, thank you very much for this show. Thank you for putting yourself through 45 minutes of pretty poor wrestling. And we will see everybody next time for another Ringside Ramblers podcast. Ciao, everybody.
Ciao.